Oh, I was saying one of my first memories of drumming is being under my parents' house when we were little. My brother and I taking the pots and pans and like just going at it. And you know what? I didn't have a bass drum, even though I was subconsciously, my imagination and what I was hearing and feeling playing drums, like it was just an unspoken rule that wherever my foot landed, that's where the drum was, you know, like where that was, you know, the bass. And so, yeah, but we had tom-toms, and for people who make cakes, they know that like you have a pound cake pan. In the middle of the pound cake, you take out the cylinder part in the middle. That's like, yeah, the holder, the pipe. I flipped it upside down and made that into my hi-hat.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then like coffee cans make a really good snare drum. And the Borden's ice cream, because Borden's is the ice cream company down south that's really well known.
Yeah.
Borden's ice cream, and they have like these gallon-sized buckets. So those were like the tom-toms.
Yeah,
you know. Man, we had it laid out, yo.
Still got that kit? Yeah, I was on tour with Christina Aguilera. I took out my Borden kit.
Took out the Borden kit with the Folger snare drum.
I endorse Folgers, motherfucker.
That's a banging snare drums, but the Folger snare drums was that was it, man.
I was turning some heads with my Folger snare drum.
The best part of Work It Up, baby. Yeah. Man, we was at church, man, and you know, coming from the South and the black experience in the gospel church down south, music and rhythm is just like, it's just part of the traditional experience, you know. Man, but my particular church organization, you know, some churches are a little bit more conservative than the others, but ours was all about the music.
Yeah.
Man, the beat, I remember, and I even remember the song. I might have been like 4. I might have been like 4 or 5, maybe. And I remember the song was called Jesus Dropped the Charges by Mr. Clean, Reverend Richard White. Mr. Clean, they call him. And it had like a James Brown feel. It was crazy. Because as young as I was, I remember it to this day, before I knew who James Brown was. I heard a beat that's like indicative of a James Brown groove. They're going, dude, that was, I was like, oh my God, that's what I was hearing at 4 or 5 years old at church, man.
That's a good start.
Yeah. Two major things happened. The first thing was that I was shocked, now looking back on it, that my parents actually afforded me the opportunity to leave and go to play at another church that was going to offer me money to play, you know, as a working musician.
Yeah.
So that was number one. Number two, out of that came the opportunity for me to play for this well-known gospel choir that was traveling around the South. So that kind of really piqued my interest from another angle of not only just loving to do it, but like, oh wow, this could be something. But you know, as a kid, your imagination starts to run.
Do you recall the name of that group?
Yeah, it was and the leader of that group, he's still alive. He's a preacher now. His name is Reverend Michael Hubbard. But the name of the group back then was Michael Hubbard and the Voices of Joy. And my brother Junior was on bass and I was on drums. and we went to Lufkin, Texas with them. That's like north of Houston. We went to Lufkin, Texas. It's about a few hours or a couple hours away or something like that. And we played the Lufkin Convention Center. And for me and my brother, that was a big deal because that was our first time in front of like that many people, you know.
Yeah. It must have been pretty astonishing.
Like, that was like, oh man, you know, we were so excited, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
And just from the family relationship alone and the time spent playing, you know, we had already had a lock, so you know that lock, and you know, man, that was awesome, man. That was awesome. With the choir, yeah, I remember that. That was awesome.
How did it work out with that the competition?
That was crazy, man, because that competition happened in the summertime after having already finished school, so I was getting close to time for me to come up here, and my girlfriend at the time was like, yo, we went to because I would always go to the Guitar Center down there just to go buy stuff, but anyway, I saw that they had an advertisement for a drum off or competition, and my girlfriend at the time encouraged me to get involved with it. I was like, man, it's gonna be such a waste of time. Why would I get involved in a drum competition and not, you know, only not to, you know, I didn't see myself winning.
Yeah.
Not because I didn't believe in myself, but I was just thinking like on the math part of it, just the sheer numbers of people that would be involved. What is the chances that I will win? You know. But I got involved anyway, and it was literally the week or two before it was time for me to come here, to come to New York, and they were at the last two, because they had already started the competition at Houston, but I got in just before it was closed for the Houston part, before it went to the state level. And the first time I competed, I made second place that night. And there was one more time I had to compete, which would be like the next week, or the last, so basically the last three finalists from that, the second to the last week, were invited to have one last face-off for Houston to represent who's going to win to go to Dallas for the statewide competition. And so it's by chance that I won the one in Houston, so I was invited to go to the one in Dallas for the statewide competition. So that just amped up the pressure. I was like, oh my God, man, like this is crazy.
Did you do that third one, or?
Yeah, I did the third one.
Yeah,
I did the third one. I did the third one. And it was crazy because we were just we were in church, and my parents, they were like having a revival, and we told them that we were getting leave to go to Dallas for this drum off for this competition, you know, for me to get, you know, for the Guitar Center, so I could win some drums. And they were like, okay, well, we're gonna pray and believe with you that you go up there and you're gonna win that competition, you'll come back with these drums, and we naming and claiming it. I was like, all right. So we get there. It was like one of the worst storms ever, like from the drive from Houston to go to Dallas.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like my girlfriend, one of our other mutual friends, and my brother and myself made the drive up to Dallas. And we got there late. So I missed a good bit of people who were performing for the competition.
Yeah.
So basically, if there are 12 finalists, they all coming from wherever they come from, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, you know, El Paso. We all met up in Dallas for the statewide drum off. Man, I got my brother, I was like, yo, let's go outside, just do a little short prayer real quick, like, you know, like just wishing for the best and everything. And man, we came back in, and I saw like one or two guys right before me, And at that time, that was at the peak. That was at the peak of Welko with his solo, you know, video thing that he did.
Oh yeah.
You know, he's got the mullet.
Yeah.
And like, man, it was some guys from North Texas State. Those guys were amazing, man. But
they were competing too, or?
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah, but like a good part of everybody that performed that night, that competed, were all like basically mimicking Dave Welko's, like, you know, his instructional video thing. Like, it's crazy. But anyway, man, we got up there, and a little bit I did know, or whatever I could do, and how I was expressing myself, and you know, I did my best, and we did our thing. And the way they counted down, or the way they announced who was the winner, was they did a countdown, but they did it backwards, as opposed to, you know, just announcing who it was. So they say, yeah, and 4th place tonight. Oh, in 4th place, okay, this person, and then 3rd person. It's like, oh, and it was one of those guys that I was like, one of the Welko guys. I was like, oh my God, if he made 3rd place, then who's 2nd and 1st? Because I was blown away. Then they said who they announced the 2nd place winner, and that was a guy that I just felt like just shook the place apart. Like, oh my God. And remember, I told you I was late, so I missed a lot of other performers, so I didn't get a chance to hear whoever else performed. So I didn't know how good or bad any of these guys was, based on my own personal assessment. Man, when they said 1st place, Jeremy Gaddie. Wow. See, like the room just went like it went like cloudy, like somebody like a puff of like dark cloud, like I lose my vision for a second. I can't believe it. It's like some movie, like slow down and you see everybody standing around you clapping, but you're not really taking it in.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was like, wow, I won.
That must have been an amazing experience at a young age.
Yeah. So it wasn't until later on that I found out about, you know, some of the other guys, I mean, outside of my community in the secular realm, that were like, okay, wow, okay, oh, and I was like, you know, Dave Welko and Dennis Chambers and Peter Erskine, Phil Collins, you know, Nduga Chancellor. He came to my high school a couple times to do some workshops and some clinics.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I have a funny story about with him. We'll touch on that later on, whatever. But yeah, that. And as I got older, I started to, like, you know, want to learn more about, you know, the other styles. So I would really pay attention to who was playing what sessions and stuff like that.
What age were you when you came to New York?
I was 18.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I had just turned 19, and that's because when we moved from, you probably wonder, wow, it's kind of old to graduate from high school. But when we moved from Arkansas to Texas educational system was more advanced than Arkansas's was. And so when we were in Arkansas, I was in the 4th grade. When we moved to Texas, my mom, she said because of how I tested out or whatever, you know, it was the equivalent of 3rd grade. So I was in the 3rd grade, and I didn't know it until one day I realized I was in class, and I asked my teacher, Miss Kramer, what grade is this? She said, Mr. Gaddie, quit acting silly. You know what grade this is. I said, no, I don't. She said, it's the 3rd grade. You know, I was like, oh my God.
Your mom put you in the grade without telling you.
Yo.
So you came to New York. I remember meeting you twice. One time you came to New York one time, and then you went away.
Yeah, I went home.
And then you came back.
And then I came right back. You knew me. You knew me from the beginning.
I met you both times.
Yeah. Well, no. The first time is
you.
the time, or at least I would say would be the time, because you met me when I first came here when I was going to school, and through Arnie Lawrence.
Yeah.
Because Arnie Lawrence was one of the teachers there, and at the new school, and I was blessed to be able to have the opportunity to play with him and his band, because it was Arnie on bass. I mean, Arnie was on sax, and his son-in-law was on bass. I think he was married to Renee. Yeah, that was his name. Renee was his name, right?
Yeah.
And Herman Foster, the blind piano player, he'd be on keys.
Yeah.
But he was smashing, yo, but he would always like have this grunt under his playing, you know.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Was that one of the first playing experiences you had in New York?
Yeah, man. So you know, the kids was like kind of like looking at me some kind of way, you know, like, oh, who's this like young kid come up here? Like, that was an honor, man, to be able to play with the teachers right off the bat. Like, you know, they heard me and thought enough of me to want me to play with them, or whatever. I was really grateful for that. I was really grateful and thankful for that. I still am. It's an amazing time that we had.
Yeah.
All the teachers. Arnie was the teacher there at the time. Reggie Workman, Jimmy Owens, Charlie Persip, Chico Hamilton was one of my teachers. Junior Mans. Man, there's just some of the elder statesmen of the jazz movement. They were all there at the new school at the time. That was an amazing time. Yeah, I was just making note of Richard being a significant part of my story with regards to, he's one of the guys that I met when I first came to town, and we had just a natural, like,
well, I remember seeing you guys
connection.
I remember seeing you guys quite a few times, and you had pretty deep, crazy rapport.
Yeah.
Very instantaneous, very like in the groove with each other. I remember that. It was very striking.
Yeah, that's one of those. I attribute that to chemistry. You know, like, some people just have that chemistry. We were fortunate to have that with one another. Like, just this innate sense of, wow, like we grew up together or something. And it's not just because of the you know, the obvious, but you know, I don't know, it's like cement to be type vibe. But anyway, some of my biggest growth happened with him, and because I was fortunate to share in his story too, with his first record. And like I said, he slept at my apartment at one time on his journey in the beginning of his career, and now this guy's got like apartments all over New York City. Like, you know,
he's a hard-working guy.
Yeah, man.
He really is.
And so, I mean, we spent time together. I worked on his first record. I toured with him with Harry Belafonte, who Harry Belafonte really afforded him to have a bigger audience, to get his name out there even more the time that he had there, the time that we spent together as well. So,
can you think of some other musical situations that maybe gave you different opportunities or experiences?
Yeah, I have to acknowledge Roy Ayers. I mean, even though I didn't spend that much time with him, I stayed with him for like about a year and a half, almost, maybe a little longer. Roy Ayers was one of the first well-known artists that I played with stateside that not only afforded me the opportunity to work with him, but afforded me the opportunity to also develop my voice even more. Like, he wasn't so, I mean, depending on the type of job you're doing, the flexibility or the looseness of it is based on, I guess, the type of music you're playing. And well, I don't guess, I know it is. It's based on the type of music you're playing.
Yeah.
You know, some being free, some being more tight, where they want you to actually stop on a 1D and, as opposed to like just fade out whenever you want. You know. But anyway, yeah, the reason why I'm saying it is because actually, he either said something to me or I remember feeling that way. Like, you know, like not micromanaging every moment, you know, but allowing me to actually find my voice. And that's a big part of what I consider to be a definition of jazz. Because it's not so, and because it's like it's constantly evolving, you know.
Yeah.
One other who I definitely had, if not the biggest, the most influence, the biggest impact on my career by far, was with Hiram, when I was with Hiram Bullock. Yeah, I was with him.
How did you meet Hiram? Do you remember?
I met Hiram, well, my first time seeing him or remembering anything about him was like seeing him maybe once or twice at Anarchy. And then
so that really was a very significant spot.
Yeah.
Time too.
Everyone who's involved in music to one degree or another right now in pop culture, from jazz to any other idiom in the United States, knows that a big part of gospel music is a foundation of American pop music, period. Gospel was born out of the Negro spiritual slave movement, which led to the blues, which is all still tied back from the old Negro spirituals. Negro spirituals is in a sense gospel music. Negro spirituals is the blues from the slave movement, from the oppression, you know, and the pain, and then jazz being equated to now our modern day classical music, but stateside. But that being born from that's coming out of that too, you know, blues, rock and roll, Chuck Berry, you know, Fats Domino, Little Richard, you know, all these guys. I even had the fortune to meet Ike Turner before he passed away. He was strong as an ox. He looked good, and it was almost like reverse social injustice or whatever. But he was telling me about him having to sneak Elvis Presley in the juke joint down there in Memphis, and it was hiding him under the piano so he can, like, you know, come see what was popping off, you know, in the juke joints down, you know, because as thick as the racial divide was between the black and the whites, we couldn't go over there and they couldn't come over here, you know, based on wherever you are, you know, where you were, you know. And so how I tie that back to myself, I'm coming from this musical experience from church first, you know, through the gospel, through the different meters of songs, subconsciously not even being aware of, oh, this is what 3/4 feels like, or this is what 6/8 feels like, or this is what, you know, all these different types of rhythms are the different ways that I heard growing up through how I saw my family and the church members express themselves at church, whether it be a slow song, right now, better than ever, yesterday. You missed your chance. Now I started off that song in 3/4, but by the second bar, if not the third bar, I went to 4/4. Just that fast. I said, right now is better than ever. Yesterday. So you see how that works out? You know, before I knew the difference theoretically, how to count it, I was already feeling. I knew what it was to feel 3/4. And 4/4 and 6/8, and so that just that feeling alone, and then being aware of what that was, that's what gave me that much more much more of a stronger innate sense of time. It's like, yo, that's what this is. It's like dancing.